Hey everybody, Joe with Bumbling Acres. Hope y'all are doing well. Now, there's a lot of posts about warnings for homesteaders or advice for people wanting to go in to homesteading, and I figure I'll add in my take on what kind of people who are outside looking in, who are looking at getting into homesteading. What have I learned so far in the relatively short time that I've been doing homesteading? Um, what advice, what would I do differently if I could do it all again? And partly being, it kind of reinforces one of the benefits of homesteading, which is you learn. If you're not willing to learn and stretch out and try new things and things like that, you're really going to struggle with the homestead life. So you need to take the time and commit yourself to doing something with excellence in mind, because that's really what homesteading needs to be. Because even if you've been doing this for 100 years, animals are different. You've really got to pay attention to what your animals' needs are, and if you don't supply those needs, there's pretty drastic consequences for your animals. So you've got to commit yourself to learning how to do things, and to constantly be in a state of learning. That I am constantly achieving better and better every day, and there's nothing wrong with making mistakes. In fact, if you never make a mistake, you're not trying. In my opinion, you're not being innovative. You're not trying new things, or you're just not human. And homesteading is about involvement and humanity, and it's an important part of life. So big thing would be to kind of take those steps towards learning. But warning, what was like the biggest thing for me that I wish I had done differently, and some of this sets up from before I started homesteading. It has been incredibly advantageous. I have a very large Toyota Tundra truck from before I started homesteading. I actually bought it a year and a half ago, just because I needed a truck to move a washer and dryer and couldn't get my hands on it. So that motivated that decision. And it's been great to have a truck, but we bought it on credit a year and a half ago, still paying it off. I guess if I was really going to look at decisions, one would be avoid credit, avoid purchasing things on credit. It's really easy to have that it's only this much a month, and then you wind up being stretched because this little bit, and you really need to have a certain level of liquidity in your cash, the ability to make those purchases for water cubes, and the ability to deal with the market and find cash and use those to get cheaper prices. So you need to have a certain amount of income that you can put into cash and utilize to get your resources. But the truck, it has been greatly advantageous having a truck on a homestead, but I wish I had not bought that on credit, and had rather waited and bought a used one that was this one was used too, but bought something that didn't have all the bells and whistles and nice, but a four-wheel drive, big truck bed. I don't need to have the truck that I have, so it would have been nice if I had go back and redo it. I would have done that. Another one, probably our first major purchase when we got this house, literally the week after we got it. It hadn't been mowed. The person pretty much hadn't mowed it before they left, for about a month and a half before they left. So we had grass that was real up high that needed to be taken care of, and one of the first purchases I made, hey babe, one of the first purchases that we made was to buy a commercial grade zero-turn mower. And wow, that's been real advantageous to have. I'm over here sitting on the stump. And if I could go back, actually I would have gotten more of a tractor type thing if I was going to go into credit and get something rather than have the commercial grade mower. Has been incredibly advantageous, and with 4 acres, if you're mowing all part of it, you really need to have something like that. But it would have been much more advantageous to once again get something. Even if it had been a tractor, we had to have a mower, we had to get it mowed, but there were other options we could have gone with. But the big one is, avoid credit. If you're looking to get into homesteading, you need to have a certain amount of cash flow available to you. I work another job that pays, I get paid well, that affords us to have this homestead and to have it be frankly, it's not financially viable for us to have a homestead right now. We sell a dozen eggs and maybe 1 or 2 dozen a week. Our hens are not laying consistently. They're all young, except for a couple old ones we bought, so that's not too surprising. But if we were relying on the homestead to actually pay for itself, we would be way out of our leagues. And luckily we didn't come into this with a lot of savings, so the job that I have makes enough to make ends meet and then some. But you know, you don't have to have the type of job that pays for that. If you've got some savings and you know, that ability to get some cash to get those 1 or 2 off items, bandsaw that I'll be getting this weekend from somebody used, tools, we buy almost everything used. Bought 2x4s, paid $1.50 a 2x4, 2x4x8, because I wasn't going to pay for lumber. You know, those are all, you have that ability when you have cash flow. If you don't have cash flow, you can't do that. So that's worth taking into consideration. The only other kind of goes into the next one, which is, you know, if you're going to get in this lifestyle, get used to work. I say that as I sit on my tree stumps, but and you'd actually see one of the projects we had was we had to have a big tree taken down in our yard, and I'm sitting on the stump for it. Pretty comfortable. We're actually going to take all these stumps and I'm pulling them to where we're going to get married, which is behind me, and setting those up for the seats for people. We'll have tree stumps and hay bales. But get used to work. You don't want to work, this isn't a good pick for you. It's very rewarding, fruitful labor, but it's labor. And that's one thing to say about this. It is labor intensive to do a homestead. You're taking care of your animals. You know, you don't take care of animals, they don't live. So you need to, you know, as a responsible human being and a responsible homesteader, you've got to get used to working. You need to be innovative, looking for, you know, that's part of that from being willing to learn, but also being willing to step outside of your comfort zone. We've gone back and forth. We know we're going to introduce more animals. We've been looking at pigs next year. I think we decided to hold off on the pigs and get rabbits. That we will be expanding our hens. We'll do meat birds again. We're actually still waiting to butcher our meat birds, which you can see in our small enclosure behind me. But we'll be doing meat birds next year. We'll also put rabbits in and probably do pigs the year after that. But that's all innovation. That's all stepping outside of our comfort zone and making it work. And you can only do that if you're willing to sweat, put in the sweat equity. So it comes down to warnings. I don't really have a whole lot of warnings for people. I literally believe this lifestyle is incredibly rewarding. And even, you know, when I'm working as many hours at my quote-unquote real job, it's only possible because I have this job to outlet a situation, something that feeds my passions. So those are my thoughts. Hope y'all are doing well. Once again, Joseph Simon, Bubble Acres. Like this, and if I have any questions or advice, feel free to comment. Thank you. Bye. There's Deborah. She doesn't do video. She usually just puts up. She's our Instagram person.
Not without like coverage.
You look great. Shush. I mean that shush with love as a partner. Because people think I'm like, "Urgh."
So
she's more bossy to me than I am to her. Okay, just letting you know, like that's the truth. But all right, y'all. You all be safe. Joe Bumble Acres. Have a great day. Bye.